I'm Scott Gronert. I'm the chair of the chemistry department. I remember most about early meeting with Fred was going to dinner at a faculty member's house while I was being recruited. And I learned that Fred says what he thinks, which is a great thing in an administrator. He would just kind of let you know what he thought was a good way to be a professor and a not so good way to be a professor. And all through knowing Fred, that's the main, it's one of the things I remember, is that you always kind of knew where you stood or where he stood on an issue. Straight talker, which is something I appreciated a lot.
My name is Sally Honeycutt, and I'm the assistant chair in the Department of Chemistry. And in his integrity, I mean, he always, I think this is for me, very consistent with VCU, and just this idea that VCU takes, well, we have so many different kinds of students, and we have students that are what I would call late bloomers, who didn't necessarily excel in high school, but they come to VCU and they figure it out in their second or third year. And the same is true of the undergraduates and the graduate students too. And Fred treated everyone the same way. So, and we also have really strong students who could have and did get into other schools that are more selective than VCU. And they're all side by side. And he treated everyone the same way. And he was supportive of everyone. Particularly with the staff also in the department. He was always supportive of the work, the really hard work that the staff do. And he always recognized that and worked to make their lives and their jobs better.
My name is Sami Al-Shal. I'm a professor of chemistry. And I started here in fall of 1989. Of course, the first time I met Fred was during my interview here as assistant professor, and then I was hired and started my job in fall of '89. And Fred was at NSF at that time, rotator, so he used to come on the weekend to the department, and of course I was assistant professor working every weekend, so I would see him. We usually meet during the weekend and talk about, exchange ideas about research and department. So we developed actually, I think, very strong relationship and very nice discussions at that time.
I am Jane Lewis, and I am Senior Vice President of a department called the Tobacco Regulatory and Health Sciences Department at Altria Client Services. He helped me tremendously in so many ways. It's kind of hard for me to capture in a few minutes, but he helped me a lot with my confidence as a student. He taught me to give presentations and to speak. I give him a whole lot of credit for my success in my career, because at Altria we are a very presentation-focused culture, and being able to give presentations to people in a way that they can understand is extraordinarily important. Fred used to say, he said this so many times, and I have repeated this so many times, if you can't explain, and he's talking about chemistry, whatever area you're in, if you can't explain to the guy on the corner gas station what you're doing in your research, you don't understand it well enough.
I'm Shiv Khanna. I'm a Commonwealth professor in the Department of Physics. I have a lot of things about Fred. First of all, he's a man of integrity, an extremely straightforward person who will tell you exactly the things as they are. But more importantly for me, he's somebody who knows how to get things done. Just to give you an example, for the last 20 years or so, we have tried to get a PhD program in physics. Fred became the associate dean and then the interim dean, realized how it can be done, got together the group of people in chemistry and physics, spearheaded this PhD program in nanoscience and nanotechnology, and then got it through the chef. So a person of vision and also who knows how to get the things done. That's what I remember about him most.
My name is Charlene Crawley, and I am an assistant professor in the Department of Chemistry, and I also direct the BS in Science program. When we speak of this new route to equity and diversity, I think one should consider to consult Fred, because he's a man, I think, who has governed his life, top scientist. I haven't focused on his science because you can read about that, but I'm telling you about the man that I know who speaks into the labs, who's a great mentor of scientists of every type, of every kind, and of every color. I care very much for him, and hope that his presence would be in my life for many years to come.
My name is John Connell. I currently work at the NASA Langley Research Center located in Hampton, Virginia. Fred had a profound influence on me as a young adult, whether he realizes that or not, I doubt it, but he had so many great attributes that I as a young person wanted to emulate. He was dedicated to his job, to his profession, to the students, and to conducting technically excellent scientific work. He often would talk to me about his days in graduate school, and he would say things like, I may not be the smartest person, but I'll be darned if anyone's going to work harder than I will. And he would always tell me things about getting your PhD. It doesn't really matter what you did to get it. What really matters is what you do once you get it. And those are things that I've kept with me since graduate school days, and have had an influence on the way I've conducted myself in my profession. So I'm truly grateful for my experiences with him and for having him as a professor and as a colleague when I was at the university.
My name is Joyce Stargett, and I was a student of Fred Hawkridge from the mid-1970s when he first came to VCU, and we had a wonderful time together, and he even convinced me to stay and get my master's degree. During my time at VCU, I think I had an opportunity to learn not only the chemistry that you taught, but how to put the work together and the presentations to make. A lot of scientists have problems doing that, and you certainly have made all of your students, graduate and undergraduate, aware of the fact that if you can't get the point across through writing or presentations, then you don't have a whole lot. So we thank you very much for Jane, Daisy, Charlene, Jim, Tom Salmon, and I named some of these people because I wanted to make a point that Fred always knew how to do that special thing that motivated that one student. I do the docent program at the museum, the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. And the other day I had a group through and they said, well, Joyce, what do you do for a living? I said, well, I'm retired now, but I was a chemist. And a lady looked at me and said, what in the world you do that for? So I told her I loved the chemistry, but I also had a mentor that brought me along and taught me so much about the world that this little girl coming along, the only thing she could do when I was a teenager was have aspirations to be a secretary, to be a bank teller, to be a hairdresser. And I came into your lab at 30 years old and you taught me I could do so much more. Thank you.